Right, hello, so today guys we're going to be making our F4 menu look a bit nice. We're going to be painting it and we're going to be adding a close button to it as well as removing the title. And we're also going to change the method of how the frame is created and opened because that allows us to make so the you can actually run your character around while you're kind of like while you've got the frame open, so you'll be able to move around with the frame open, and also makes so when you press F4 it'll open the frame, and then when you press F4 again it'll close the frame, and also gives us more opportunities to do other stuff. Right, so to get started, we're going to create a couple of new files. So you'll need to restart your Gmod if you've got it open. So what I want to do is go to the add-on, which is in here, custom F4 menu, Lua. Once in Lua, we want to create a new folder called VGUI. And then in that folder you want to create a file. I'm going to call mine cs_f4_ menu. Don't make this generic because it will clash with other stuff like add-ons and then it's change.txt to .lua. Right, then you want to, once you've done that, you want to open that. And then once you've done that, open it up. And then, this is where we want to start creating the frame. We also want to go back into Lua Autorun and open this other file that we had. Right, so now I've got these two files. Right, we're also going to have to change this in a minute. We'll do that now actually. So, basically, somebody pointed this out. It was just a problem with this. Basically, we didn't localize the function. I mean, it was a global function. You do kind of need to know that. And you'll probably want to go read something down in Lua form, so I'll try to put a link in the description. And what we're going to do here is there's a different way to kind of lay out a function, and I'll show you that now. So what you basically do is you kind of just make the function relevant to just that. So just delete F4 menu func from there. Then what you can do is you can just copy that, delete it there, and then you can just, where it says F4 menu func here, you can just paste it there, and then just back that up, and there you go, that should be working now. So it just looks like that, there we go. So it still works the same, because basically saying when F4 is pressed, that's the unique name for the hook, and then just run this function. So it's not running a function that was already created, it's kind of creating the function and running it. And there'll be something we need to change here in a minute, but for now what we want to do is we're going to want to add this file. So in if server we're going to make so the client will download this VGUI file. This is basically where we're going to be creating all the stuff that we created here instead. So it's add cs lua. So this basically just makes the client download the file, and it's VGUI/cs/f4_menu.lua. Yours might be different if you've created the file. It's just basically /VGUI and then the name of the file inside. Right, I think I've already got it open apparently. Right, so now that we've done that, we also want to include the file on the client. It just means they can reference it and so on. So you can just put include, then we can just copy that. Just quickens up time, and there we go, we've got include there, and just space down. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to actually do this. So create the file in here. We'll delete this in a minute and I'll explain why. So we're going to create the actual menu in here now, and we're going to use it. We're not going to create a frame this time, we're going to create a panel. And the difference between the two is there's not a massive difference. It's just panels don't have a title and panels don't have like ready-made close button, whereas frames do. And we're going to be creating this in kind of like a table format. You probably want to look into tables if you've not sort of seen a table before. So we do panel equals, this is how we start off the table. There we go. This is just syntax I have. You probably want to get that as well. It's really useful. And then what we can do is we can just put a open squiggly bracket and a close squiggly bracket. Forgot what they're called. And then we want to, the first entry in the table we want to make is called init, and then that'll be function, and then just put self beside that function so you can reference the actual panel. And then we can end off that. There we go. And that's entry in the table. And then this is where we're actually going to create everything, as in everything such as like the frame and so on. So for the start, we're going to do self. This is basic. Self is basically referencing the panel. So yeah, because the panel's already been created. So we do self set size, and then 1000,720. And then we could do Control D to make sure to duplicate the line below, and then we could do center. We want to center it. So basically, we just put in most of the stuff here over on here, but we're not going to make a pop-up this time because we're going to use the other method, like I said. And then we want to set visible to true. There we go. That's that out of the way. And now, because like I said earlier, there won't be any close buttons automatically. We're going to have to create one, but for now I'll just keep it as this so you guys can kind of see that it's the same. We need to, so this actually, we've created the code, we've just not registered it in the VGUI. So we need to do VGUI.register, and then you want to register what this is what it's going to be called. It doesn't have to be the file name, I'll just put it as the file name so I'll remember it. So this is just kind of a unique name you need, and then we're going to register that, the VGUI element, and as CS_F4 menu, that's what the element's going to be called, and the element is going to be the local panel. So that's why we put that. And there we go. Right, so now that's that file out of the way. Now what we need to do is we need to change all this up. So what we want to do first is we can keep most of this, just delete the stuff inside, so we can keep the rest. And then you want to replace frame with kind of like a unique name for your panel. So I'm going to call mine CS F4 menu. That's kind of unique name for me. And then now what I want to do is, this is basically saying if CSF4 menu does not exist, which it won't because it's not being created anywhere, then you want to make it equal to, ignore that, that's people on Discord, then make it equal to VGUI.create VGUI.create, and this is going to reference to this VGUI.create and then the unique name that you put there. So it's creating that VGUI that we've just made, and then we want to do CS F4 menu set visible false. Right, so what you might be thinking is, if the frame does not exist and the player presses F4, which is when it's been, so it's basically, let's do a run through. So when the player presses F4 from this function, a net message is sent. This is where the net message is received, and then you want it so if the frame does not exist, if the menu does not exist, then create it. And you might be wondering why I put set false. Well, in here, remember we put set true, so we want to do the opposite of that. Right, now we want to make it so that would create it. It's just we want to make it so because we want to make it so the player can run around and so on, and so you can also press F4 to close it. So we want to do if CS F4 menu is visible, which is basically saying if it's visible, then we have to do an else and an end. Else is basically if that does not happen, then do this, and it's just generic if statement. So you want to do CSF1, yeah, you want to do CSF for me. You want to set visible true. So basically, if it is visible, then we do that. Then we want to close it when the player presses F4, and because we want to close it, we set it to true because that's the opposite of when we want to open it. Right, then we want to do, because that means the user won't actually be able to move the mouse, we want to do a thing called GUI.enable screen clicker, and then set that to false. So so if it is visible, then we want it to close it, and we want to make so they can't move, so the mouse isn't stuck on the menu which is closed. Right, So we can just duplicate that there. I can set visible true, and then we can. Oh, it's meant to be false. What was I talking about? Meant to be false there. And then set visible to true when if it's not open, set it to true, and if it's not open, we want the user to be able to move the mouse on it when it is open. There we go. So that's that done. That's the basics. Now what we can do is we can go in game and we can actually see the basic menu. Then we can start adding more stuff to it. So I'll be right back once I've got in game. Right, hello guys, so we're back. Everything worked fine, but there's just one little thing that we need to address. So everything, this is what we had before, wasn't it? Right, so basically everything worked fine in here, everything worked fine in here. It created the frame, set the size, set visible to true, set center, but we couldn't see it. So you would have pressed F4, your mouse would have been able to move, but you wouldn't have seen it. You won't have seen any frame pop up. That's because we've just created the panel. We've not actually painted it, so it's not like visible to the eye, but it is visible in terms of the game. Right, so because it's table, we want to end it off here with a comma, and then we want to do paint equals. This is going to allow us to paint the panel function, if I can spell, and then self, comma width, comma height. The reason why I do this is so that we can reference to the panel easily, then put in panel, and then we can do so it's self the panel, and then the width of it, and then the height, which currently is those two. And then we need to end that off. There we go, that's that. And then now all we need to do is just basically paint something over the self, width, and height. So to do this, we're going to use the surface library because we want to draw a rectangle, and it's easier to draw a rectangle. It's easier for the server client to draw a rectangle than to draw a non-rounded box, because that's the only thing you can do in draw library. So we're going to do surface. So with the surface library, we always need to set the draw color. So I'm going to do set draw color to, I'm going to say like kind of just white 255, 255. And then we're going to set the alpha to 150, so it's slightly transparent. So that's red 255 red, 255 green, 255 blue. So that just means all white, and then obviously 000 will be black. I want to do surface dot draw rect, and that's going to draw a rect with these colours. And then we've got the X position, it within the panel area, so I want it to be 0. So we basically want it to be in the top left, start in the top left corner of the panel, and then we want the width of the rectangle to be the width of the panel, and then the height of the panel. So basically, it's drawing a rectangle over the whole panel. Right, and then also to make it look a bit nicer, I'm going to do surface dot draw outlined rect. This basically just means there'll be a nice little outline on it. So we're going to do 2 because we want it to be 2 inwards. Then we do another 2, and then we could do width, and then we want to do width. The width of it will be width take 4. So there's a 2 between either side. Then the height will be height take 4. So that's 4 is 2 times 2. Right, and then we've got that. There we go. So that should be it now. Now if we go in game, you will have to restart your game, but I already fixed it off screen. Right, so now if we press F4, we've got a nice little panel. See, there's no close button, can't close it by clicking, but if you press F4 again, it should close. And look, we can move around, with it open, but you can still move your mouse cursor around, press F4. And right, so now what we're going to quickly do is before the end, we're going to add a button and we're going to paint the button. So if we go back in here, I want to quickly disconnect actually, and then if we go back in here, what we can do is we can add a button up here. So we could do local, this is just so we can get the X and the Y of the actual panel. Oh no, set it to X, Y, and I'll do equals self get size. Right, so now I've got the X and Y of the panel, so we can reference that in the close button. So we'll do local close button, do equals VGUI, so it's creating another VGUI element, VGUI dot create, and this one's called D button because it's a button, So we'll put that there, DB button. Right, so in this we're going to actually be using something called parenting, and we're going to make the button so it's on top of the panel, and the panel in here we can call it as self. So now that we've got that, we can do close button, and we can set the text to, so using those, it's a close button, we can set text to close. Okay, now I've got a close, now it says close. I can set the size, let's say 75 by 25, and then remember press Ctrl D to duplicate the line, and then we can set the pos to X, and then if we took 75, that would mean that if we did X take 75, that means it would be that means it would be 75 spaces away from the edge, so the end of the button will be touching the edge of the panel, but we want it to be like beyond the, because basically the outlined rect is 4 away from the edge, so we don't want it to be touching that, so I'm going to make it 2 away from the outlined rect, so it'll be X take 75 plus 6, which is 81, so do X take 81, and then we can do the distance from the top as a 6 as well, because we want it to be 2 away from the outline, so we could do 6. Okay, that's the size, set a position done. So now we just need to, now we want to paint it as well. It would have a default skin, but it looks a lot nicer when you paint it. So you paint equals function, then as before self, comma width, comma height, and then we need to end off that function, and then in here we can just copy most of this, to be fair, and that just frees up time, and you can just highlight it and press tab if you're using Notepad++, and then in here we can, I'm going to just change some of the colours a bit so it looks a bit nicer. I'm going to probably go for 150, so that's kind of like greyish, and then I'll set that as 0, so that, well this row doesn't matter, I'm just setting it as 0, so that it's just, because I want to make a button that's just outlined, so that means that, yeah, I don't even, no, never mind, you don't need that, you don't even need to draw a rect if you're doing it, making it look like this. Never mind, we'll make it look a bit nice then. Right, so we'll add this as about 150, the outline to be very transparent. We'll make it a bit darker at about 50. And there we go, that should be all that. So now I've got, oh wait, probably want to make, I kind of just want to make so the outline's on the right edge, set it to the width and the height, and make so it starts at 0 and 0Y. So it'll start at the top left of the button. So now what we can do is that's going to be a nice button, but when you click it won't do anything, so you do click. This is basically what happens when the user actually clicks on the button, and I've done some from there because it's close button not close, so equals function, and we end it off, if I can spell, end it off, and then we do self. We basically just want it, if you go back to what happens when you want it to close, which is if it is visible, then when the user presses F4 it should turn false. So that's basically what should happen when it's closed. So basically we just make it so when the user clicks the close button it will close it as it does in here when they press F4 again. Alright, so now we can save that, and then I can restart, and then I can start on my server again, and I'll be back once we are in game. Right, hello guys, so we're back in game now, so are you ready? So now press F4, so you've got the nice menu, can't drag it around, you can walk around, move the button, then if you click close, it closes fine, you can open it again, press F4 to open it. So that's all the panels painted, and I know I said last episode we're moving on to pages and then filling them, but I felt like we needed to do this because it's nice, because I think it just makes the panel look a lot nicer than that ugly old thing. So now what we can do is we can close it, and then we can move on to pages next time. Right, so anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, next episode, part 3, I'll be hopefully moving on to pages, and yeah, that'll make the panels have pages, and we'll add about 4 pages. We'll add like information, we'll add jobs, commands, shop, and there's normally another one, but I forgot what it is. Anyway, yeah, so we'll add those next time. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.